Hi there, and thank you for watching another one of my videos. Today we're going to replace the belts on a Ducati M900, a Monster 900. The first thing we need to do is remove the 7 screws which hold the timing belt covers on. To get to these, it's pretty easy. The vertical belt, you need to lift the tank up, so that requires removing the seat and propping the tank up. The horizontal belt's actually pretty easy to do. So to get these wires out of the way, we're just going to get rid of the little wire ties. It's kind of like a little rubber band that Ducati uses to keep the wire harness onto the frame. And the vertical belt cover comes off first, and it's just going to slide right up and under the tank. Now the horizontal belt cover is going to require you to break loose one of the oil lines, and you see that oil line kind of slide out of the way. That oil line actually is really close to the horizontal belt cover, both top and bottom, and it's kind of difficult to get it, get that hose pulled away so you can get that belt cover past it. And be real careful removing that belt cover, because that hose is just like a hacksaw. That braided hose, it'll cut right into the carbon fiber or the plastic. So the first thing we're going to do once we have our covers off is we're going to mark these belts. There are timing marks on the pulleys. It's a good idea to line them up, but we're going to do this real quick, so we're not going to pull out any extra tools to line up the engine and all the timing marks and everything. Ducati belts don't come pre-marked, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to mark where my pulley timing marks are for my horizontal belt, because it's really easy to get to. For the vertical belt, it's not going to be so easy, but when you see the way I do it, you'll be able to figure it out and get your bike back together exactly the way it came off. So like I said, on the horizontal belt, I've marked where both timing marks are, and then I'm just going to take my wrench and I'm going to break free the tensioner pulley. With the tensioner pulley loose, the belt comes right off. Now, if you're watching this part, back up just a little bit and watch the pulley on the valves. It actually moved. See how far it moved? So, be prepared for that. What I found doing a lot of these 2-valve engines is anytime that I pull off the belt from the horizontal cylinder, that pulley always seems to move about a quarter of a turn. So, make note of that and make sure that you get that pulley back into place when you're putting your belts back on. So now what I do is I count my teeth between the two timing marks, and I'll mark my new belt, and then I'll count it out. So it's almost the same every time I do it. The horizontal belt is usually 33, and the vertical belt is 31. But it may be a little bit different with you doing it the way you do it, so I don't want to confuse you. Don't go by my numbers. It would be helpful if Ducati sold belts that were pre-marked, so all we had to do was line up the timing marks and slide the belt on, but they don't do that. So I have my belt marked, and I'm going to just lay it off to the side, and then just throw my old belt out of the way. So now we're going to work on marking our vertical belt. So I start at the front of the pulley because I can get my paint stick in there. If I go with the timing mark that's on the engine, I can't get to that back belt. And then I mark the pulley up at the top on the timing mark. So now again, I'm going to break free the chain tensioner, and it's going to allow that belt to come loose, and it'll slide right off once that tension's off the belt. So what you see is my paint actually chipped off the belt. So I want to make sure that my mark is good and strong on this old belt, so I can use it as a template when I'm setting up my new belt. So I'm just grabbing the belt on the lower pulley, and I'm going to slide it out the bottom of the bike. So I'm marking my belt, and now I'm going to count my teeth out. So I just marked my belt, and now we're going to run it up through. When you're putting your new belt in, make sure you don't get any wires tangled up or caught underneath the belt. You take your time with this. Pay attention to detail. One little mistake can really destroy a nice bike. So just pay attention, close attention to what you're doing, and if you see a squirrel, don't stop and watch the squirrel. Just pay attention to your bike. So you see I slid it on, the top timing mark met, and then the bottom timing mark met up down on my lower pulley. So now that I've got this belt on, I'm going to take a pry bar, because I can't get my hand in there too easily, and I'm going to put some tension on this belt. it doesn't have to be super tight. There does need to be a little bit of slack and play in this belt, so don't make it super tight. All you'll end up doing is wearing out the bearings on your cams. So just put some tension on it and then tighten down your tensioner bolts. Now these tensioner bolts aren't going to be super tight either. Now I'm not using a torque wrench, but I'm only putting on about maybe 15 but no more than 20 foot-pounds on those bolts. You don't have to be, Godzilla or King Kong and torque down these freaking bolts as tight as you can get them. They will hold if you put the proper torque on. So again, I'm lining up my rear timing mark on this belt, and now I'm going to line up this pulley with my front timing mark, and be real careful and make sure you get this perfect, because you don't want these marks to be off even one tooth. You don't really need a pry bar here. Your hand will work just fine. The horizontal cylinder is actually a pleasure to work on, where that rear cylinder can be a pain in the butt, especially if you have to change like a head gasket out, or pull the cylinder off and put a gasket on the case where the cylinder meets the case. It can just be a pain in the butt. So there you go, the belt's back on. Now we want to test it and make sure that the bike works. This is a 1996 Ducati M900, 20,000 miles on it. Listen how well it started up. This bike was cold. I probably haven't started this bike in like the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Bike fires right up, runs great. I really love these old Ducatis. That open clutch, that dry clutch, just sounds amazing as well. I love it when I'm at a gas station and some yahoo from North Carolina pulls up and says, "Hey feller, your motorcycle's making a hell of a racket. You ought to get that checked." Just makes me laugh every time, but you and I know that these bikes are just an amazing machine. I love them. Alright, so now we're going to slide this horizontal belt cover on. It goes on first because the vertical has 2 bolts that share with the horizontal. So we're just going to be gentle. We're going to, get it in there. It's just kind of awkward the way all these wires and go through. But we're going to slide it through and get it into place. We're going to lift our tank back up, and then we're going to slide our vertical belt cover down. Yeah, also, while you got your bike apart, these pieces that are difficult to polish, you might as well wipe them down while you got them off the bike. The carbon fiber looks a lot better when they're clean. I wish I could say that about the rest of the bike, but I'm just one of those guys that I don't mind working on the bike. I hate cleaning them. Now we're just putting the bolts back into the timing belt covers. Again, you don't have to be He-Man and tighten these down as tight as you can get them. Snug is all they need to be. But yeah, it's a Ducati, but these probably won't vibrate out. And then again with the little rubber band strap around the cables. And we're just going to hook this to the trellis frame. Keep the wires off the engine. Drop the tank down. If the tank doesn't go into place the first time, don't force it. Find out what's holding it up. And then that little pain in the ass clip that's there on the key, you got to fiddle with that to get it to hook up. And then you got your seat. Your seat just slides into place and latches. On most motorcycles, it's really easy to find that clip and have it fall in, but not a monster. But once it goes, once you get it lined up, it's almost perfect. Thanks for watching the video. Go enjoy your bike.